It might require a couple specialty ingredients, but Mapo Tofu is a classic Chinese dish that you'll want to whip up on chilly evenings, when a warm, steamy, slightly spicy bowl of Szechuan comfort food is just what the doctor ordered. So let's start off with those specialty ingredients. You might have to get these online or go to an Asian grocery store, but it is well worth the effort. First off, we've got some Szechuan peppercorns. These are not exactly like black peppercorns. They have more of a numbing sensation on the tongue. Really interesting and wonderful. Next up, we've got some doubanjiang or broad bean Szechuan style paste. This is really spicy, got a nice umami flavor. And finally, we've got some dark soy sauce, not to be mistaken for regular soy sauce. This is going to give a nice color and rich umami flavor to our Mapo Tofu. In addition, we'll need a couple cloves of garlic, about 2 tablespoons worth that are finely minced, about 3 tablespoons of freshly minced ginger, 2 or 3 scallions. We have the greens and whites separated. We'll use those in different ways. We're going to need about a cup or so of chicken broth or chicken stock. If you don't have dark soy sauce, you can go ahead and use regular soy sauce, a little sesame oil there, a tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. We're going to use that with a little water to help thicken our Mapo Tofu, and finally 8 ounces of ground pork. Alright, let's get started. We're going to take 16 ounces of firm tofu and pat that nice and dry, get as much of the moisture out of it as we can possibly manage to do with a couple paper towels. And then we're going to cut this up into roughly 1-inch cubes. Really, the size here is not all that important. You just want to keep them all nice and even, just like that. With our tofu ready for work, we'll go ahead and get started here. We are going to toast about a tablespoon or 2 of those peppercorns in a dry wok over high heat, just until they're fragrant. And then use a spice blender or mortar and pestle and get those ground up to a nice fine powder. Next up, still over high heat, splash in a little bit of olive oil and add your pork and use a spatula to break that up and crumble it up into little tiny pieces. Once it is just barely cooked through, make a little room right in the middle of your wok and add in your ginger, your garlic, and your scallion whites. If you don't have a wok here, just use your largest skillet. We'll also splash in maybe a half teaspoon of that toasted sesame oil. Once all that is in there, we're going to go ahead and give this a quick stir, maybe 30 to 60 seconds, just until that garlic and ginger is nicely fragrant and just starting to soften. At this point, we're going to add in maybe a half a tablespoon, again this is really going to depend on taste, of our Szechuan peppercorns, followed by the brown sugar and a couple tablespoons of our broad bean paste. Go ahead and stir all of that to combine. It should be very fragrant, smelling almost floral and a little fruity at this point. We're still working over high to medium-high heat here. And at this point, we're going to add in 1 cup of chicken broth or chicken stock, and 1 tablespoon of dark soy sauce. If you're using regular soy sauce, you might want to go 1.5 tablespoons or so. As always, you'll want to taste for seasoning at the end before you serve it. Once that's all in there, we're going to reduce the heat to medium, carefully slide in your tofu, trying not to break them up into little pieces, coat them in that wonderful broth, and cook them at a gentle simmer for 5 to 6 minutes. At that point, we're going to add in our tablespoon of cornstarch, which has been mixed with 1 tablespoon of water to create a slurry, and gently stir this over a simmer until that broth and pork mixture comes to a nice consistency. If it's a little too thick for your liking, you can add a splash of water or stock. If it's not thick enough for you, add a little more slurry. That's of course just you cooking. At this point, we are almost ready to serve, but I am contractually obligated to inform you that Mapo Tofu must be served with steamed white rice. So you'll want to make sure you have a couple of cups of that at the ready. We'll plate this up by adding our rice to a bowl, followed by a couple of generous ladles of our Mapo Tofu. and it just wouldn't be dishing out or Mapo Tofu without some additional green onions. So we'll put a nice line of those right down the middle of this plate. Be generous. The nice fresh flavor really helps tie the whole dish together. And for a little extra numbing on the tongue, I'm going to sprinkle over some more of those Szechuan peppercorns. If you've never tried them before, maybe go a little light the first time, but I think you'll really enjoy it. This is a dish packed with umami. From those beans, to the dark soy sauce, to that brown pork. It's really a delightful bite of food, as I always say. I hope you'll give it a try. Please don't let the uniqueness of a couple of the ingredients deter you from making this. They are just a couple of clicks away on the old World Wide Web, or a quick trip to the Asian Mart, if you are so inclined. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. As always, hope you'll get out of here and go make something delicious.